Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 3, your first speech, preparing for it. This will be a brief conversation. I just want to clarify a few things for you because the PowerPoints look dry, and I also hope that you're using your textbooks by now. So the goals of this chapter are to prepare you to present your first speech, manage the impression that you make on others, and maybe remember how we practiced an introductory speech of yourselves. We're not introducing classmates, but that's also a possibility. That's another exercise we could have done. For this day and age, I think a self-introduction is very common. When you put something online, introducing yourself to your potential clients, your community. So how to become a good speaker? The stairs on this slide indicate 7 steps from finding the topic, from focusing on the center of that topic, make sure that it's doable within the time limits, within the scope, keeping your audience interested and sharply focused on what you're talking about, finding supporting material through research, and designing, outlining your speech, practicing your speech a little bit, and finally delivering. Those steps, this is the algorithm of making a successful presentation. The purpose of our first speech will be to get started with speeches, because this is a practical course, introducing us to the basic skills and establishing your credibility. So, how do we plan our first speech? There will be a detailed assignment sheet for the first speech, which is coming up. But first, we need to find the right topic, focus on that topic, find supporting materials to develop your ideas and to prove that what you say is grounded in facts and research. Choose a proper design for your speech and outline it, what you want to say, and then write it out, fill it with words, practice those words, make sure they flow, and then deliver it. So finding the right topic, I will give you a certain level of freedom in choosing your topic, but it needs to meet the requirements of the assignment depending on what your instructor asks you to do. It needs to be interesting to you. You need to be passionate about it. You need to be able to find relevant information, reliable information easily enough without going overboard. Interesting topic for everyone. Affect other people. Enrich your listeners' lives, and it will help you with other speeches that we will make during this course. So the first step, focusing on your topic. Make sure it is doable within the time limits, interests your audience, and your goals should be very specific. What is it that you want to accomplish? Am I going to inform my audience? Am I going to persuade my audience? Am I making a celebratory speech? If you can summarize your speech in one sentence and deliver it on an elevator or during a cocktail reception to someone you just met, then you have a clear goal. So other material that can go into your speech write-up are narratives from you, from other people. A story is a narrative, an anecdote. Examples that can illustrate your points, testimony from relevant and reliable people, and basic facts, statistics that you find through research. Narratives are stories that illustrate your ideas. They make you closer to your listener, and it can be part of your speech, very naturally, very organically. It helps the structure of the speech. It pushes it forward. Sometimes you have narratives that invite your audience to participate, maybe ask a question. And your narratives usually contain dialogues, which are always a way to make your performance more lively. Examples are another way to illustrate abstract points or difficult to grasp ideas, concepts. With examples, they become more accessible, clarifies uncertainty if you're not so sure about some things, as an audience member. An example would put things in place. It creates authenticity for your speech and makes your abstract ideas concrete and specific. A testimony brings authority, credibility to your research. A testimony from a respected person adds to your ethos, to your credibility, and the credibility of your statement. So if you're bringing up, let's say, a president who made a quote, who made a speech and mentioned something, commented on something, the time and place of that comment will be important in order to create the context in which that testimony or that statement was made. Because taking things out of context is actually unethical and it could be misleading. So, using facts and statistics enriches your speech by validating ideas, enhancing your credibility. So if you're making a claim, you need to document how many cases of COVID-19 are in America as of July to 2020. It's easy to check. Sometimes you go to the latest news publications. So knowing your sources of information is important, knowing sources you can trust, and checking when the information was published. Because in June 2020, the numbers of COVID spread, infection cases would be one figure, one picture, and in April 2020, completely different. So in your first speech, you tell a story to carry your message, bring examples, cite ideas, other people and their comments who support your position, and include facts and figures to add credibility to your statements. So there are different ways to design your speech. I would suggest reading this part from your textbook because it would also illustrate, but it is categorical, cause, effect, and narrative. So the categorical is the natural or customary division, in categories of things. The cause and effect is bringing up the logical sequences of what if we develop this vaccine and then what will happen. And the narrative is building a story through a series of scenes. So in a narrative structure, you just tell episodes, tell anecdotal information, and the audience follows you, thus learning your point. So the speech includes an introduction, which needs to be catchy, engages your audience and makes them listen to you more attentively, foreshadows the message to come, and creates a rapport with your audience. The body of the speech includes the important ideas and the main points, provides all the supporting materials for your ideas, and glues it all together with transitions, bridges that tie the parts together. The conclusion is very important. It is the last accord, the last chord of your performance. It summarizes the main points, the takeaways, invites the audience to reflect on the meaning of the speech, on the impact, and makes sure that the listeners, the audience members, can memorize, can remember at least the core points, at least one takeaway point. You cannot hope that they will memorize your entire speech, but what is the gist of it? They need to remember. So sit down and write it out. Write out the introduction verbatim. Don't let yourself float freely, because that never works when you're in front of a microphone. Then write the body of the speech. You can just draft the main points and find support for each of your main points. Give yourself some time to research and find supporting claims, facts, testimonials, And write out the conclusion. Write out the conclusion in great detail because you don't want to leave anything to chance. The format of your outline is suggested in your textbook like this: main point, support, or subpoint. Another point, the support for that. Another subpoint, support for that. So you make a point and you prove it by bringing facts, statistics, and each point has subpoints. They flow from one another. It's like a funnel shape. So the most important thing is upwards. It's at the beginning, and then everything less important stems from it, and it serves to protect, to prove, to support the main point. The skills of presenting your speech are actually the skills of spotlighting your ideas, highlighting your ideas, to speak naturally, to present your ideas in the body of the speech extemporaneously. That means without a script, being able to say things without looking at your paper. And if you put keywords on your outline, you should be able to speak off of those keywords. So if you're speaking in front of a microphone, if you're a radio announcer, you do not want to leave anything to chance. Especially the beginning and the end need to be written out completely. But the middle part of your speech, if you're not sure about time, if you're not sure if you will fit in the time given, because a lot of it depends on how the audience is receiving it. I'm not saying you should take questions, but sometimes by the looks on their faces, you'll see that they're not following you properly. So you may want to repeat some points or explain or expand. So you need to be able to control your speed in the middle of your speech. But at the end, you really want every word written down, because you cannot leave it to chance. So rehearsing your speech in front of a microphone, in front of a mirror, a camera, starting with a full outline, and then reduce it to a keyword outline. Once you've rehearsed it, you can just put the keywords or maybe highlight or bold the keywords. In terms of writing it out, I would strongly recommend that you use double-spaced format, because it's really easy to confuse the lines that are jumbled together. The sheets of your paper should not be stapled. You can move them freely, remove the top sheet and read from the second one. Or if you're reading from a computer screen, make sure that you have a way of moving on without interrupting your speech. Stand up in order to practice, because you need your breathing apparatus free and straight. If you're hunched over, your speech is not going to sound very full. Imagine, visualize an audience in front of you, but do not visualize them as, not wearing clothes, because that never helps, despite the anecdotes. And look for variety in your tone and voice. Rehearse your voice. So manage your ethos, your credibility. Ethos, pathos, logos. Remember the three aspects of good speech delivery of rhetoric, according to Aristotle: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is your competence, integrity, your credibility, goodwill, dynamism, honesty. Manage those things by projecting competence, projecting confidence. First of all, by choosing a topic that you are knowledgeable about. Demonstrate your integrity, being straightforward, being honest. Show concern about the ideas that you're delivering, and manifest goodwill. Smile, make eye contact, don't read from a page all the time. Exhibit dynamism, be energetic, enthusiastic, decisive, confident, and when you're introducing yourself, be selective. So there are some issues with self-awareness.